I want to just read to you a couple of things here. And because we don't have sound, we're just going to play sound from Mike's phone in a second, because that is the height of the entertainment ladder where we now reside with the Bill Simmonses and the Dan Patricks and the Pat McAfees of the world. And pardon my takes. Here from Ball Don't Lie. I am far from Bill Simmons' biggest fan. I rag on him in group chats often, but methinks the media members taking the opportunity to on him today are just a wee bit jealous. Bottom line, Bill Simmons money makes Stephen A. Smith money look like fifth grade allowance. And my question to you guys, the group, is, do you believe that any of that money comforts him today?
No, I don't. As someone that listened to his content today, I don't think it makes him feel better. I think he'd give up half that money to get out from paying Jaylen Brown $50 million, which is what he's rumored to be looking for.
Let me ask the question a different way. The man who had an emergency 90-minute podcast on Sunday to celebrate the 10th of a second where the season of the Boston Celtics got saved, and then flew to Boston yesterday to have a courtside seat to his best player injured on the first play of the game. Do you believe that that human being is saying to himself as he walks like Kendall Roy out of the Succession conference room where he has been shivved by Shiv, do you believe that he checks his bank account today and says, well, at least I have this. It doesn't feel quite so bad. I'll go to one of my homes in Malibu and cry there?
Yeah, a little bit, though. Like the home in Malibu.
Yeah.
He's physically leaving the TD Garden to go patch himself up over in his home in Malibu. I actually do think that makes him feel a lot better.
But this is what I would say to all of America today, though, because if Bill Simmons is going to be the hood ornament or avatar on Boston privilege and Boston winning and Boston whining, then the greatest thing in all of sports is going to be to enjoy the misery of someone who has lost, that you can laugh at in sports, the way that you can laugh at Nick Saban when he does a lot of winning all over the place, but when he falls on his face, you end up laughing at it a little bit, because enjoying the misery of others is something that is one of the great sports joys that there are.
Dude, I'm just happy it's not us. Someone was going to get laughed at hard, considering the shape that this series took after Game 6. I'm just so happy. I'm more relieved than happy that my team is in the NBA Finals, if that makes any sense. I'm more relieved that I don't have to hear Boston celebrating and Miami becoming memed than I am to actually be in the NBA Finals.
Human nature, right, is that we enjoy the suffering of the rich more than we enjoy the suffering of the poor, because the poor suffer enough. But when the rich suffer, it's like when an athlete is injured or suffering or crying after a game. The reaction is vitriolic. It's like, he's crying all the way to the bank. He's making $40 million a year. Save the tears, buddy. So when Bill Simmons, of all people, is showing the face he's showing yesterday, I think we delight in that a little
but wait a minute, though.
Should.
This is what I would tell you of all of Boston, though. This is one of the things that makes the misery such a delight. Do you who are listening to this understand how much that city cares about that team? The Patriots were laughing stock for generations before they were Tom Brady's team. That team, that history, Red Auerbach, we invented basketball. Bill Russell is bigger than Michael Jordan. That franchise is what matters to generations handed down in that city. More than hockey, more than football, maybe the same as baseball, but baseball hasn't had that kind of winning. Basketball is what matters. And to know that that kind of caring is being beaten by a South Florida that Mike Ryan shrugged and has been telling you games ago, our team's not that good. Yeah, I don't expect anything from them.
Not good. Not good. Not a good team.
Bad team.
A bad team made the NBA Finals. We're a bad team. This is the worst Heat team in several years, and they just trounced Boston in Game 7 at their own place.
Dan, what were the stats you gave a couple segments ago? They were like 30th in this, 25th in scoring. They were one of the worst teams in the NBA, and now they're in the finals.
And on
like,
top of that, they were
okay.
like super hurt in,
Right.
in this postseason.
They're
They're a bad team.
They were dead last in the NBA in scoring, weren't they? The Heat. Dead last.
They're not a good team. They're a bad team.
Bad team.
The NBA, apparently, in today's NBA, bad teams can make the finals.
Yeah, but Caleb Martin. Oh, man.
I have no idea. I have no idea how to explain this. And part of the tears that I was trying to drink up last night on EEI and the Sports Hub was a lot of that was happening, Dan. A lot of people were saying, the Red Sox are down. The Bruins seem to be headed in the wrong direction now. The Patriots have fallen off, and we wonder what they'll be in a post-Tom Brady world. This was supposed to be this core's time to take that market, for Boston to become a basketball town, and they lost to Jimmy Butler and a bunch of undrafted guys.
Let's play some of this sound. Mike, how many hours did you spend without your wife, or your wife catching you partaking in the hub?
I finally went to bed at around 1:30 a.m. after I was hubbing all night.
Hubbing all night and hubba here. Did you hear Ryan Cortez call in? Because I believe this was the best call so far from Ryan Cortez, Parakeet Cortez. He called in. Put your phone up to the microphone here, Mike, so that people can hear here at the top of the entertainment ladder, you just playing your phone for a national and international audience. Ryan Cortez calling.
Dan, I appreciate the setup, but you have to keep in mind, I had another sound queued up on my phone, so you got.
All right, we'll play that one. You can play.
Oh.
I'll set that one up instead. Here is Mike Schur and Bill Simmons telling you exactly what was going to happen in their haunted house from the Bill Simmons podcast a couple of months ago. Mike Schur has disappeared. Meadowlark employee has run for the hills. He doesn't want to be on. He is in hiding. Let's hear that sound from the Bill Simmons podcast with Mike Schur.
It's when there's the one guy in the horror movie who keeps pointing out to everybody else that something bad's going to happen and nobody believes him. And he almost starts to seem annoying after a little while, but then it turns out he was right. And somebody's coming out of the basement. You've been that way with the Miami Heat on our Celtics text thread all year. You've been very focused on it. All these dumb garbage losses. The Heat were like 10-12. They were 13-14. Like they were never a threat to anyone but you. And now they're still lingering, and we're going to go into how weird their season has been. We're talking about sports hate right now. We don't actually hate these people, but we sports hate certain teams, the Yankees, the Lakers. I sports hate the Heat. I just want them to go away, and I know they won't.
This is the problem with the Heat, is they don't go away. They're the equivalent of the Steelers, I would say, in the NFL, where like the Steelers start out like 3-7. You're like, this is the year that they fall apart. And at the end of the year, somehow they're like, whatever, 9-8. And they still don't have a losing season, and they're in the mix going into the last weekend, and they might make the playoffs, and they're dangerous. If they do, they're dangerous. Nobody wants to play them in the playoffs. That's the Miami Heat. I've been yelling and screaming about this. This is invasion of the body snatchers. And I have been saying the whole year, like, don't let these guys linger. And one of the problems has been these teams that play them, they rest all their guys. They're like, we don't care. They're a middling team. So like the Nuggets rest Jokic, and the Bucks rest Giannis, and then the Heat squeak out these 2-3 point wins, and you look up and suddenly I said this in our thread the other night, we are careening toward a 2-7 first round matchup, Celtics Heat, and I am going to be terrified.
Do you understand, in the vanity of the television ego business, how hard it is to not be able to enjoy at all how right you actually were? We love nothing more than being right. No one in the media was more right about what these teams were than Bill Simmons and Mike Schur, and no one in the media feels more wrong today about their right than Bill Simmons and Mike Schur.
You know what I think was the greatest thing about Game 6, Dan? Was despite all of their hope and belief that Miami was actually going to be the boogeyman again, that all went away with Derek White's game winner. They all thought they were cruising, and they smited the beast. And it's perfect that it went the way that it did.